You don't have to have the camera. You don't have to have the script. You can fail live and people will actually appreciate it. Streaming is the only place where people will pay you more money if you fail in a funny way.
Welcome to Virtual Beer Podcast. Grab an online drink with fellow creatives. VirtualBeerPodcast.com.
When I was first introduced to my today's guest, I was running a pirate radio station out of my kitchen, and he was making music using analog synthesizers. He went on to become a street photographer, a pretty good one, by the way. When I taught photography, I ended up showing his Instagram profile to my students more often than not. In the meantime, he also worked in game design and in marketing, and now he's a Twitch streamer. So my today's guest, Vlad, a.k.a. Woodworm, a.k.a. WDWRM, because apparently he hates vowels. Welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me in.
So if you're at a party and somebody asks you, what do you do? What's your elevator pitch? Because I doubt you have time to say all the things that I just did.
Yeah, I swear to God, I think at some point, and you could probably relate to that as well, when you start listing, at least in your own mind, like everything that you do, the imposter syndrome starts kicking in.
Oh, yeah.
You start getting anxious. Am I really good at all those things? Which one should I list? Which one should I not list? I just start asking about their own things. Why should I feel uncomfortable?
Right.
What about you? What do you do for a living? How about you, my friend? But no, I usually state like what it is that I do at that very moment. So nowadays,
but how often does that change? Like, because I shift between like projects and like areas every week. So, in some weeks I might sound more boring than I actually am.
I think my ones is more like periods, like little tiny stages in life. Well, not tiny actually, stages in life. So, for example, like this current stage that I'm in is focused on the Twitch streaming and content making. That is, of video, the video format, and video editing. Like this is what I do now. This is what I eat, drink, sleep.
That's what pays the bills. Yeah.
That's what pays the bills. So that's what I would refer to. But then, of course, like with a person like you, once I know, like, oh, hey, you're into photography. Hey, I before the corona hit us, I used to shoot some stuff as well. I used to love street photography.
I adopted a term coined by Tyler Stallman. I don't know if you follow him. He is a Canadian photographer / videographer / YouTuber who just says that he's a full stack creator. So it's a riff on a full stack developer, but it's like an all-encompassing term to, denote a person who does different digital stuff at a pro level.
I think the term absolutely makes sense. I think it is on my LinkedIn and in my like email footer or whatever. I use content generalist. So that's what I like to call myself, because when I used to do freelancing for marketing clients, just like Instagram, social media managing and stuff like that, those would be like the static images that I would produce with Illustrator, Photoshop. I could shoot them as well with the camera. I could also film stuff if you wanted me to. Hey, if you're gonna pay me enough, can I curse on this one?
Yeah,
I'll make you a fucking jingle, dude. So yeah, I full stack. What was it? Full stack
creator. Yeah,
that sounds really good. I like that. I like that a lot.
And I think like many creators of today can identify with that, because like no matter what you do, chances are you'll be doing it online. And like the more things you know how to produce at a pro level, the more gatekeepers you can avoid. You don't need to wait for somebody to write music specifically for your documentary if you can create a music bed yourself, etc. So it's also this thing where until you start making like really good money, you can't afford to pay for every little single thing. So I think like for me, I started doing design, just kind of like diving into like Photoshop, Illustrator. Well, nowadays it's Affinity because, F you, Adobe, exclusively out of necessity. If I had the funds, if I had the money, I would pay someone easily
to make me like an album cover or like a t-shirt design. I didn't have the money, so it was like, okay, well, I might as well just learn this because this is the reality that I'm dealing with. Later on, as you kind of these concepts as well, you can actually become a way better client for like fellow freelancers because you kind of the process more or less. You know what it's like to be on the other side, but you also have the funds to pay for that. But until then, you pretty much have to tackle everything everywhere and try to survive basically in this world. Holy shit.
All right, well, before we move on, this show usually starts with a question of what are we drinking. So you don't drink apparently, which to me is such a foreign concept because I think that's my number one activity since the lockdown began. Yeah.
Do you want me to elaborate on that?
Yes, please.
Do you want me to have that shameful elaboration on that? All right, but here's the thing. Okay, first of all, viewers, I did cave in. I almost got beer, but I couldn't find it in any of the local stores.
Yeah, you wanted to do like a very nice local craft beer, and then it could be like a really good thing to talk about as well.
We can still talk about it. It's nowhere in my vicinity. The craft beer is awesome.
Yeah, and for some reason, so you are in Serbia,
yes.
And Serbian craft beer scene has been developing like crazy over the past, 7 years, I would say. I think I was still living there full time when it kind of like started emerging. So yeah, nowadays I can actually find some Serbian craft beers in Dutch supermarkets. So that's pretty cool. If you see a Serbian craft beer, take it. You're not going to regret it. But yeah, so no craft beer.
I do have a glass of wine.
Cheers.
Which I'm hesitant to drink, and otherwise it's coffee and water.
Tell me about like the whole like I'm not drinking thing. If it's not like too personal.
I am an anonymous alcoholic. I'm just joking.
Exactly the kind of personal I was hoping for. No.
I think I stopped drinking probably around like 2017, something like that. Just because there was like no necessity for it. Like, so first of all, I stopped going out as a social activity, like to clubs and stuff like that. I stopped playing music, which was one of the biggest reasons why I would even drink in the first place, to get rid of the stage anxiety, performance anxiety, whatever.
Right.
And so when my activities reduced to me having coffee with friends, that whole aspect just kind of faded away. And so like I have the occasional drink. I like the social drinking aspect of it. I have some beer every once in a while, but it's usually like, I don't know, some kind of little mini celebration, someone's birthday, those kind of things. I think honestly, and this is gonna sound so like snobby because there's no way for it to come out nice and sincere, but I started appreciating the straight mind so much because I work so much. I can't even afford it. Even if I'd like to, I can't because work super late, get up super early, all that jazz. So that's it. That's okay. That's all there is to it. There's no big philosophy like, alcohol should be. No. And also, everyone, I vape. So I did decide.
So between like the two vices,
to intoxicate my body. Yeah. It's like
you have picked yours, right? Yeah, I don't smoke. I live in Holland. I also stopped smoking weed the moment I decided that I'm actually in it for CBD, and you can get CBD other ways. So yeah, alcohol is the only thing I do, even though I do try to like go for a run and stuff every other day or whatever. But yeah, on that note, it seems that whenever I record this, I drink something cider based. So this time, this is a Spanish apple cider vermouth, and it's very nice and sweet. I'm big on cider, so that's basically the only thing I drink. Actually, I'm bored of beer now. So, ta-da! What are we drinking to? What are we cheersing to, or what are we? Yeah, why are we drinking? Okay, I'm drinking to spring finally coming. As we're recording this, the Netherlands went from freezing cold and frozen canals to it's going to be 17 degrees Celsius tomorrow. And yeah, that is the thing I'm celebrating right now.
I'm drinking this coffee to what is the antonym of limbo? I drink to that. as I hope that at some point we get out of this, because it seems like we think, oh, finally the worst is behind us. Something comes along. If some country does something, climate changes, people in Texas enter the medieval age. let's just kind of...
I like it how like a year ago we all thought, we just need to power through the 2020, and then in 2021 everything will just reset and it'll like go back to normal. And like we are so far from it that it's... Yeah.
Keeps getting better.
I mean,
it's like the second season that's not as strong, but there's still enough stuff going on.
A big question that people tend to ask me, and that now I'm going to ask you, is do all the things you do, or like all the fields you're active in or had been active in, connect somewhere? And if so, how?
That is a really good question, and I actually have a really good answer for that. That is exactly why I, in 2021, am still using the stupid pseudonym that is WDWRM, or a.k.a. Woodworm without the vowels, okay? Which was made in 2013.
But that was your like musical artist name.
It was,
right?
Yes.
And your photography pseudonym is even worse. I don't even know.
Yeah, that one. That one was made out of a joke, so we don't even talk. We don't even talk about it. We don't acknowledge it. I wanted to change it back to like my full name. I couldn't. Too many people with my name.
But
around
why not? Why don't you
Instagram.
do? Okay, so tell our listeners what your username on Instagram is.
Oh, Jesus Christ! It's HCXCY.
All right, so there you have it. Really good photography. Visit that. I remember we like had this conversation like on and off. What prevents you from like consolidating everything under Woodworm if Woodworm is the active one now?
Well, actually, I am consolidating absolutely everything under Woodworm except the photography. I don't know why photography still seems a little foreign. In a sense of the street photography that I do still feels a little foreign. So any other photography that I might come up with, for example, something that I want to, shoot for my own album cover or something like that, that will go there, and that's perfectly fine. But street photography, I can't really put that in at this very moment. Woodworm as a concept was born out of from this book by Julian Barnes. It's History in the World in 10.5 chapters. It's like my favorite book of all time. Followed by Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. It's the best. So in that book, the Woodworm is this like kind of like a bit of a omniscient kind of narrator that seems to be teleporting from era to an era. It's like a tiny little creature that sees things and tells stories of what it sees. And for my music project, that was amazing. I thought, hey, you know what? I like to tell stories. These are like really short little tracks, all like different, like jump from witch house to drone to like drum and bass to post rave, whatever. Let's do that. Then now this whole like the video content creation streaming thing happened. So I thought, hey, you know what? I want to do this as Woodworm, because I want to play games, I want to talk about games, but also I want to make music. I want to turn like my little video gamey moments into like emotional experiences. Like this is what I aim for. And so in that sense, that like to refer to your question, I found a way to unite them in this Woodworm, but only as long as they actually actively contribute to that. Like there's no reason.
But isn't street photography also about telling stories?
It absolutely is, but I feel like I approach it in a different way, where it's more. It feels a little more accidental. It feels a little more not as purposeful, which is weird, right? But like it's kind of like I stumble upon it, I take the shot, great shot. It's not something that kind of I sit on and let it marinate and decide to, hey, this is the story that I want to tell. I don't know. It just feels a little wrong. But if I were to make like short films, oh, you bet your ass it'll be as Woodworm.
All right, interesting. So I have first known you as a musician, and back in the days in like 2015, which was when Tron Radio was broadcasting. You made your own music, and you also curated a weekly radio show. How did your interest in music start, and did you dabble in any other genres before electronic?
So my mom finished a music academy for piano. My dad finished music academy for acoustic guitar. None of them, at any given time, thought about pushing me in that direction.
That's usually how it goes.
That's usually how it goes, right?
My mother's a journalist, and she did their best for me not to become a journalist. I did become one, so yeah.
I feel like that is the rule, unless your parents are doctors. Because if they're doctors,
or like super successful and very rich,
and so I just kind of stumbled upon the music, like as I do, like, oh wow, music is awesome. I'm feeling this. I was a hardcore emo boy back in those days.
Back in MySpace days.
Back in MySpace, Vampire Freaks, Hot Topic.
My God, Vampire Freaks.
I know. I was all over
that
it,
existed. Dude. Oh my God.
No,
okay.
Yeah. It's crazy. So yeah, and then I stumbled upon what like my favorite bands to this day, Enter Shikari, and they made amazing post-hardcore / electronic / trancecore. I believe they were like kind of the trendsetters of that, like kind of fusing the sound of electronic music with like rock, but more like post-hardcore metal in those days. And I said to myself, I want to do this. And I saw the little device that the main singer had in their music video, and I said that I want that. And my parents got me. Huh?
What was the device?
It was a Korg Electribe MX, which is the device I used for such a long time, for like at least a decade. I know it like inside and out. It was the only thing I had. They got me that one. It was like 500 euros at that point. They said, "This is all you can have." All right, and so I just started tinkering with the sequencers.
Okay, that's cool. On that note, I loved your latest single. I think it was like, about 8 months ago?
Yeah.
Woodworm Wither. Yeah, the music video was also really cool. Was this like a Corona project, or did you have it like cooking for a while?
It was absolutely a Corona project. I sat there like day in, day out, kind of like working from home, just sitting at home, and I thought, you know what? I want some nature. I want some nature in my life, but with my own twist on it, I made a song about flowers dying.
It's just what normally happens. Do you have any projects you're working on currently, or is that on a back burner right now?
So here's the thing: I have an album that I've been working on for about 5 years now.
Holy.
So yeah, that's not coming out anytime soon. It's done. I just need to record it. But every time I sit down to actually record it, like it's on the devices, yeah. Mm-hmm. So every time I sit down to actually record it, I realize that there's something else to do in it, and then I never finish it. And so the cancer keeps growing and growing, and the longer I take to make it, the more it needs to be perfect, and it can never be perfect. And so I'm stuck in a perpetual cycle.
I can totally relate to that, but I'm realizing the hard way that when they say that projects are never finished, they're just abandoned, they're kind of right. So I think at some point it's a good strategy to just release stuff, or call it done, and then you can always like remix yourself later, but because like the more you sit on it, the more you feel that needs to be like super cool. But then I usually try to counteract that with the question of, is this going to be my life's work? Like, do I really need to sit on it for the next 20 years? And does it even make sense? Like, or is this just something I'm gonna put out there, and then like after a month come up with like a list of things I could improve and work on them? Yeah.
So I completely agree with that. And usually to like anyone who is, I don't know, like trying or is having trouble like putting out music, nobody's having trouble making music. People are having trouble finishing it, right? I'd say don't take longer than a week.
Well, I mean, depends if
Fucking
that's the only
don't.
thing you do. Like, I did like a boot camp thing last summer, and in June I finished like 3 tracks. One of them was good, and I released it as a single. So you can do that, but you know, if you do have a life, I would say like a month per track is good, or something like that. You know,
I'll meet you. I can meet you at like 2 weeks.
yeah, but like if you don't work on it every day, and if you wanna, you know, sometimes your ears get tired, and you just need to like.
That's true. That's true. You're right.
Hear,
You're right.
you know, listen to something else, so you kind of know next time you do open your project, you do know what sounds wrong or what could sound better.
It's super annoying. However, with that being said, I'm doing so much better because I figured out this perfect niche for me. Because I realized that I also kind of hate making full tracks, like a full track.
Okay.
Like I create this awesome little loop that I vibe to, and I can vibe to that one like loop because it's a sequencer, you know. So you just like it keeps going. Like imagine like Fruity Loops or whatever, and I keep vibing to that thing, and I never like. There's so many of like little tracks that I could never find a way to progress into a real track. So I found this awesome community of like VFX artists that promote themselves on Twitter by publishing their their works. They're like little kind of like animated 3D like whatever fractals and whatnot as GIFs. And so I took the first GIF that I saw that I really liked, and I just soundtracked it. I soundtracked that little thing. It came out at like less than a minute. I had a really good time with it. I did that within like an hour, maybe. Like not even an hour. And I just published it. And people loved it. So I thought, hey, you know what? That could be my new niche.
I do expect we're gonna like circle back to the music at some point, but let's do like a little sidebar here and talk about photography. How did you take up photography, and when?
I think I took up photography when like as a teenager. When I asked my parents to get me like a little tiny like point and shoot little tiny Sony camera. Just like a tourist camera.
So back in the MySpace days.
Yeah, I think so. That's when I was in a band in Montenegro, and we needed footage. We needed like band photos because that was cool.
And doing them on a point and shoot in the early to mid 2000s seemed like a good idea.
Absolutely.
All right.
What else are you gonna do? You're like a 15-year-old kid. What are you gonna do? Come on, what were you doing? How did you record stuff back then?
I was a hipster before it was cool. My mother had a lot of analog like film cameras and stuff.
So I am jealous right now.
And they were all like made in Russia. So
yeah.
Anyway, but I did buy my first like Nikon point and shoot in like 2006, I think. And that camera sucked. Like even for that time, I hated it. But like that was the thing I could afford.
I remember like being super impressed with this. It was. Remember like Sony had the Cyber Shot series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I had, and I was amazed by like how good the photos were and astonished how bad the video was, because we also wanted to record our rehearsals.
When did you start with your street photography? I think that's a better question.
So we have a mutual friend, Nemanja Glumatz. I actually
don't know him. I've been just like following him on socials for.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
like
a social friend. Although I did have coffee with him just yesterday, and so I consider him like one of the best photographers like that I've met. Like I was always super inspired by him and his work, and he at some point he lent me his Fuji. It was a Fuji X100T. I started messing around with that one, and so yeah, okay. So and at that time, I had a Sony Alpha 5100, whatever. I had that one, which was also only used
It was
for
like a DSLR type Sony, right? Or
no, it's just like a mirrorless, like little tiny alpha thing, like 6400, but like way worse.
I don't know anything about Sony anymore. I used Sony.
Who cares?
So I used to have a lot of Minolta cameras and lenses, and at that time, if you bought a Sony Alpha, the Sony Alpha would just be a digitized Minolta autofocus, because Sony acquired Minolta at some point, and they started essentially making digital bodies that could work with all the Minolta gear that was out there. So it was like a very good investment. Oh, now I have a DSLR and I don't have to buy new lenses, and I can get the lenses for it at a flea market if I'm lucky, and pay like maybe 30 euros for them or whatever. So at that time, it was like Sony Alpha was a DSLR and Sony NEX was the mirrorless. And they messed it all up when they started making mirrorless cameras and calling them alphas. And now they have like 3 different lens mounts, and it's just also confusing. Like, I don't know.
So I think Sony Alpha 5000 was still called the NEX, and from then on, the one that I had, the 5100, that was already just the Alpha. They ditched the NEX name for some weird reason, and so I had that for my gig performances and stuff like that. But when I held Fuji in my hands, I saw the colors. I was converted, and I said, I need to get that camera. And instead, I got the Fuji X-T3, and that just changed.
Which is the one you're recording on right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that just kind of changed my life. So I started street photography, because I would just take it everywhere with me, record video, shoot street, and yeah.
And you had an exhibition?
Yeah, I had an exhibition in Russia, a distance exhibition, because I didn't fly in.
So you did social distancing before it was cool.
Yeah. They reached out to me because of a mutual friend. No nepotism here, by the way. I was just recommended by a mutual friend, and so I had to organize it. From Serbia. It was the most stressful thing in my life, trying to find a nice place to print the stuff without ever seeing these photos in person. I had to rely on basically my mom's opinion on whether the photos came out good.
So wait, were the photos printed in Russia, or did you print them? Oh my God! Okay,
yeah.
I was just print them there and then ship them or whatever. But I guess
I was thinking about that, but it would be too much money, and like I just couldn't do that. So I thought, hey, you know what? Never mind. I've learned a lot about printing. I learned a lot about printers. Thankfully, I forgot everything.
You will recall it when you need it.
Oh, dude, man, no. Like, if I ever become big enough to have like another exhibition or something like that, I'm hiring someone to do that whole thing for me. There's no way. But it was a fun experience. People loved it. There was an orchestra playing, which was like, well, when Russians do things, it's like it's always a bit over the top. So I had an orchestra.
Did you also sell a couple of photos?
I sold like 4 or 5 photos.
That means the exhibition was successful.
Absolutely, it absolutely was. It's just still kind of weird, I wasn't there, Like I don't know.
You could have
like
zoomed in to like say a thing or two, or
so I did record like my kind of like thank you video that they played. Because it was the whole thing was during the like Russia have this like Serbian days kind of like festival kind of thing, whatever, where they appreciate Serbian culture and whatnot. And that was a part of that. So it's like a couple of days long festival. And I have photos and like a little video. It's just like a bunch of people, and there's like a little tiny TV on the wall. It's just me addressing them. It's so uncanny, man. Those things will never see the light of day. You'll never see these that footage.
virtualbeerpodcast.com.
So during the lockdown, you stopped doing street photography, at least temporarily, but you started streaming on Twitch. How did that happen?
So my wife knows about this. When she first met me, I said to her like, "Hey, one of the things that I really want to do in life is I want to be a streamer. Like I want to stream. That's a thing, you know. I have to this date I have 3 failed Twitch accounts that I tried. I got scared. Nothing worked. No viewers came in. And so when this whole thing hit us, a friend of mine, a Russian friend of mine, said, "Hey, I just started streaming on Twitch. Maybe you should do that." And I was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna get any viewers. I'm just gonna be sitting there talking to myself. Like, it's stupid." He goes, "No, come on my Twitch, have a look." And I went in there, and there were a couple of people chatting. I thought, "Hey, wow, you know, if he can do it, you know, maybe I can do it as well." Like, it feels a lot more closer to you when you see a person that is close to you doing it. You're kind of, oh, well, it's not just some random American guy somewhere. And I gave it a chance, and I had to grind really hard, and it's slowly starting to pick up. And it's become like, it's become like my second job at this point. And not in terms of making money, obviously, but in terms of, just the input. How much time I invest while streaming, and especially how much time I invest off the stream to kind of keep this whole thing going. Yeah.
All that happened, last year, when I think in a blink of an eye, live streaming became our life, basically. Did you see the dynamic shifting a bit? I feel that everybody started streaming in like March and April last year, and everybody was consuming whatever somebody would put out there. But then throughout the summer, it kind of like fizzled out, because like people got either tired of doing the thing or of consuming the thing. But now I think it's kind of like coming back for whatever reason, probably because we're still stuck at home. Did you see any like shifts or like ebbs and flows there?
Oh, absolutely. I think like right somewhere around March. So I started a bit later. I started around June. And by that time, that whole thing kind of started dying out, in a sense of most people, like even the people that consumed, a huge amount of them actually turned into streamers themselves, And so the timeline you mentioned, March, it was insane. Like everyone was on any platform they're usually on. We're already at home. We already have some gear lying around. Why don't we just make it, like a more fun experience? And then, kind of died out, especially like as more people turned into streamers themselves. Then it picked up again, and I think it died, it dipped hardcore somewhere around January this year. Like that's when everybody's numbers, I feel like, the small streamers' numbers, I feel like they plummeted. And now they're picking back up again. It's kind of like, it's so unpredictable at this point.
I've seen people from like different areas of expertise and like different walks of life migrating to Twitch over the past 12 months. For instance, some DJs who spent like the first part of the lockdown doing live sets on Facebook moved to Twitch because apparently the copyright restrictions are a bit more lax.
They were. Yeah, Twitch hit everybody with hardcore DMCA.
Oh, damn.
Hardcore.
Okay. All right. Well, I've seen some, but that's probably also not a thing then. I've seen some like music critics organizing listening parties on Twitch as well. But I think if you browse Twitch now, there's a lot of different content that you can consume. You can, watch people cooking or eating or assembling furniture, etc., etc. So what makes Twitch different from YouTube at this point?
Wow. Honestly, at this point, the only thing that makes Twitch different, there are a few key factors. It feels like I've been drinking myself.
Yay! It's contagious.
It is. So first of all, it is an already established platform with an established culture. Like people who go to Twitch, they know exactly what to expect. There is, there's just like it's a culture. People are aware what is going on. They know it is a live show. They know there'll be imperfections, and they can expect that. There's also like a different, like a whole new language that you kind of have to learn as someone coming into Twitch when it comes to emotes, when it comes to just the jargon of it all. YouTube is different in a sense that it was always like a one-sided platform up until recently when they started like really doubling down on streaming. YouTube is going against Twitch. YouTube is also going against TikTok. How good are those implementations is questionable, but at this point, they're making way better decisions than Twitch ever has. And so I think it's honestly just a matter of time when YouTube will finally get to that very point Twitch is in right now. Like, all they need is a few little things, and they'll get there. They'll get there. But that is honestly, I think that is the only difference and the only like real headway that Twitch has these days.
So we'll see you migrating to YouTube at some point.
I'm considering it every time Twitch releases like a new kind of update or a new PSA. I look at it and I wonder why are we here? And yet I go there 3 times a week. In fact, I'm going there right after this podcast. So
platforms aside, what is the main benefit of doing something live? Because I personally prefer making YouTube videos because I get to sound and look smarter and better than I actually am.
I think that is precisely the point. First of all, live content is low effort content. That's how it is. As much as you might take into like just kind of prepping up your Twitch or whatever it's like stream channel with like OBS and the mics and learning about streaming and stuff like that. When we're talking about the content itself, it is incredibly low effort comparing to YouTube and the quality that you'd have to output on YouTube to even be noticeable. On Twitch, you don't have to have the camera, you don't have to have the script. You can fail live and people will actually appreciate it. Streaming is the only place where people will pay you more money if you fail in a funny way. On YouTube, you're just gonna get a bunch of hateful comments, and that's it, and a few dislikes. So in that sense, streaming is a window into a person's real life and all its flaws. You don't have to be the best person. You can try to if you want to take performance seriously, and be an entertainer, but you might as well. So there are tiers. You can go for the highest tier and be the best person, the best version of yourself, the best kind of production value, or you can also just be some dude who just likes to play games and have people watch him play, and he might never even talk to the people, but he likes to have the people hang out. There are many different tiers, and I think that's what's so kind of it's so inviting. And also the idea that you can make a shit ton of money by playing games. That's how they get you as well. So,
have you made a shit ton of money by playing games?
I've made more than I would expect.
Okay.
To be honest, I've made more than I would expect. But it's nowhere near self-sustainability.
Right.
No way on earth. In fact, when I quit my job, I asked a friend of mine who was also a streamer. I said, hey, I'll finally be able to, dedicate full time to, streaming. Should I just try to go full-time streamer? And he was like, no, please, no. And at that time, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll listen to them. Looking back, thank God that I didn't try that.
What kind of stuff do you make on Twitch as opposed to what kind of stuff do you consume there?
The stuff that I consume on Twitch is mostly people I know, my friends that I like to hang out with. I don't like watching people play games.
Okay.
It's not fun to me unless there's some really good commentary about it. So I come for the people. When it comes to what I do is my strategy is to play games to get people to actually notice my channel because I like playing games. Why not play them live? Give commentary and hook them in so they stay for more video game industry, which is something I'm really passionate about, video game industry discussions, and also these kind of more social events. I like to interact with my people. So the other day for the Valentine's Day, I speed dated my chat.
What?
I made a secret Discord chat room and a waiting lounge. Had the people come into the lounge, and then I would drag them into the voice channel for like a 5 minute. I had the chat time, and we tried some speed dating, with camera and everything.
That sounds amazing.
It's fun. It's fun because because streaming is a bit of a parasocial environment where they chat starts.
Parasocial relationships are the only relationships we have.
That's very true. It feels weird when you kind of know things about the people in your chat, but they know a lot more about you.
Oh yeah.
Let's just face it. And so it was nice to reverse it a little bit when I got to interview each one of them. It's like, okay, this is what you look like. Cool. Okay, tell me, what is it that you do? Like, what's your life like? Blah blah. It was not as romantic as it was just kind of like a little interview. And I finally launched my own kind of like mini interview thing going on, where I talk to people. To fellow Twitch streamers that are doing some interesting things. So, for example, last weekend I interviewed a person who does photography, but in video games, virtual photography.
All right.
So that's a thing. People do that. There's a huge community. And his name is Shinobi_Space. He downloads games. He downloads cheat codes so he can basically like walk around, fly around, have all the gear, and he takes shots. And he started taking photos in a Spider-Man game, just like I did, because he realized that city looked so realistic, and you could take some like street photography shots and make people believe that these were really shot in Manhattan just because how good that game looks. So there's a lot of like really cool people that you can follow that, as you've already said, cater to any kind of interest. You have programmers that program on Twitch. You have DJs. You have beat makers. You have people who mess around with mechanical keyboards, who just assemble mechanical keyboards and talk about the best keycaps and best lube for keycaps. Did you know that people use lube for mechanical keyboards?
I mean, I'm not surprised, but it's not a sentence I would normally say out loud.
Yeah. I almost feel bad for saying it right now.
I'm actually kind of low-key thinking about doing some kind of streaming, and I'm trying to feel out what is out there to begin with. So
you should.
If anybody listening to this wants to start streaming, what are the minimal tech requirements you would recommend? We talked about this before the show, and you said that the bar has gotten pretty low thanks to just the influx of everybody streaming right now during the lockdown. But for me personally, the bar for the content I consume got kind of higher. First couple of months of the first lockdown, I consumed everything, but then because everything's so saturated, I basically set a bar that's saying, okay, so if somebody's streaming from a dark room on his phone from 20 feet away, I'm not gonna even give them my time, because there's so much better looking and sounding stuff out there.
I think first of all, it depends what you're looking for, right? Because some people might actually be looking for that authentic thing. I would draw a parallel with a not suitable for work topic. It's like with porn. People like amateur porn that's recorded on bad phone more.
But even amateur porn is getting more and more pro these days.
That's true, but it's you can tell. You can tell by the lighting. You can tell it's not a like a 3. There's no hair light there.
Yeah. There's far less makeup on everybody.
Yeah, I think people will still there's always going to be a group of people that want to see the most authentic thing. Of course, if you want to make it, if you want to be the biggest streamer out there and stuff like that, first of all, chances are super low. You're probably not going to make it. Yes, you do need some good gear. But the bar of entry, as it stands right now, and the gear that you need, you most likely already have everything you need to start streaming. And I would recommend that people do start streaming with what they have at home, Like,
so not
it
even an HDMI capture card, or
No.
because like that's, for example, the one thing I don't have. The thing that I would buy if I decided to start streaming tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, look, here's the thing. I have 2 capture cards that I use and need to use at all times. And I have like an okay mic. I stream with my mirrorless camera. All of this is set up. Like I have somewhat decent lighting, I have all kinds of like commands going on in like alerts when someone donated. Like, yeah, this is all cool, but I think people need to realize that first of all, it's okay to start without all that. Second of all, you won't, even if you have all that gear, you won't know exactly what to do with it and why it's so useful to you. You know, like if I came into your house and just dumped a shit ton of gear and connected it all and said, here you go, start streaming, all that gear probably wouldn't even accommodate for your needs. So for people that just want to start out, I say just start. Chances are you're not going to have any viewers in the first month. There's a high chance nobody's going to come by, or people will come by and they'll leave. You will use that time to figure out exactly what your needs are for the stream. Like, what is it that you want to do? And according to that, start, kind of putting in more money and more effort, because within like the first year, I think it's a hobby that gives almost nothing in return. If you have a phone and that's all you have, start with the phone. Sit down in front of your phone, start streaming, have a cup of coffee, talk about your favorite coffee brands. You're
that
looking
sounds
at me like
super easy, but also super intimidating.
Oh, it's super intimidating, But that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, you have to put yourself out there if you want to. If you want to start streaming, like, I'm not saying like everybody should be a streamer. No way, please don't. The less of you people are streaming, the more chances I have, right?
Yeah.
With that being said, streaming is amazing, and if you ever thought about it, I think everybody should at least like give it a chance. You will get better. You will shake at the very beginning. My voice was trembling every single time. I'm like having like mini panic attacks. I'm telling my wife, I'm like, okay, I'm going live. She's like, good luck. She gives me like a good luck kiss on the cheek. I'm like, I sit down. I'm like, oh, okay. And nowadays it's like, fuck, let's go. You get there. And I'm speaking as an introvert myself. You will get there, but you have to start. It took me a long time to start because of analysis paralysis, because of all the, this is the gear that I need to get, or this one more thing, blah, blah. You can get stuck in that loop forever and never produce any quality content.
Yeah.
And just be browsing Reddit. I just need that camera. It's like, no, you don't. You don't.
All right. How do you promote your Twitch channel? How do you make sure that people show up when you do?
There are many ways. First of all, like, people must realize that if you want to start on Twitch, forget everything you know about like social media marketing and platforms and algorithm, because on Twitch there is none.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, nobody will ever find you. The way Twitch ranks channels is by viewership. As you can imagine, if you're just starting out and you have 0 viewers, you'll be at the bottom, at that hellhole, stuck forever until somebody comes in. So the only way to promote a Twitch channel, this probably doesn't, this doesn't work, this doesn't go for like YouTube and Facebook gaming, but the only way to promote Twitch is outside of Twitch, obviously. And that is, if you can, in my case, is repurposing the content that you create on Twitch for other platforms. Wouldn't it make sense for you to come up with a plan before the stream, but also create content as you stream, which you can then repurpose for micro content, for TikTok, for YouTube, for Instagram, IG Reels, whatever. I still didn't even get them. But it takes a lot of time. And that is the only thing, like, for example, that is not working for me, is I don't promote enough outside of streaming because of how much time I invest into the streaming and work. I edit my own videos, and I edit videos for a bunch of clients, and guess what? My videos come last. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I did professional photography and some other like photography related stuff for years, and that's why I literally still have photos from like 2017 that I like, photos of my own from like trips or just like hanging out with friends or whatever, or like personal projects that I haven't even like, I mean, they are somewhere on one of the external hard drives, but I've never even looked at them since, because there's just no time.
Yeah, you'll never get to it.
Yeah,
you'll never get to it.
I do have time now, sadly. So I started like going and either like editing or like re-editing stuff from like years prior. But it's weird. That's usually how it goes. Will you ever stream making music on Twitch?
I don't know, man. Like, that was the concept initially. Hey, why don't I use video games to get the people in? And then every once in a while, the jabs will be the video games, but the right hooks will be, hey, here's my music, dude, and check out my channel. But I looked around and I looked at the content that other musicians are like on Twitch are putting out. And maybe this is again my like imposter syndrome or whatever, but not having any formal education, not knowing how to play a piano or whatever. Like, me programming like synth and notes is basically going beep, 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 beep. Oh, okay, this one sounds good. All right, that's the note. That's G minor. All right, okay, next one. Beep, beep, beep. I think to me it's fun, but I don't think it's fun to watch.
I would watch that. I think it's a niche, because usually, I don't.
Usually people are really good, so you want to check out someone
like,
who isn't.
There are different like genres of music, and whenever I see somebody streaming their music, they're usually, a girl with an acoustic guitar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think in the whole like sequencers and synthesizer kind of area, there's like more, at least also I have a couple of friends who are into those things, and I think there's like more room for experimentation than in something, as straightforward as, okay, here's my acoustic guitar and I'm going to play Wonderwall, If people go to your socials from your Twitch, they will see your music. So it is out there.
That is true. I do just kind of like randomly, subtly promote it when I say, like, I do stream and I go, hey, by the way, if you want some like real copyright-free, DMCA-free music, here are my links. Check them out. And people do go and check them out. So at least, I keep the whole like music thing somewhat in there. But yeah, I could dedicate more time to actually produce stuff. What is it that you would like to stream?
There are several things that I thought about. One of them is photo editing. The other one is I would like to like try and do a stream where I'm like trying to like, I don't know, cover a song within like a set time frame. Like, I've seen people doing some very extreme versions of it. Oh, I'm going to cover this song in an hour. And I'm like, no, like give me at least 3 hours because I'm slow and mildly ADHD. But I used to think of myself as an entertainer, but now I'm more, especially after like having taught photography in a photography school in Amsterdam for like several years, I'm like value first. I'm not sure I can be as entertaining as I would like to be. I mean, if you give me a radio show, if you give me a radio show, I can definitely do what I've done for 10 years back when I lived in Serbia. But
wait, guys, do you know how fucking good he was as a radio host?
Well, my God. Sadly, it's all in Serbian, so who cares at this point?
Yeah, I know. It's so sad, man.
Anyway, as an introvert as well, I think that my personality is not necessarily big enough.
But your personality is also very, very chill and very nice to listen to and consume with your video content. And that kind of like that wholesome, chill stream is something that I personally enjoy a lot. Like, you can only take so much of like, all right, let's go. High energy. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Go. It gets a bit like, I mean, I guess when you're a teen, that works. But me, someone quite older than a teen, I'll take the slow pace stuff.
All right, Vlad, thank you for being my guest on this show. And I do hope we will get to have an actual beer or water in person at some point in the future. Yeah.
As soon as they open up, we're coming over. We're coming over.
right.
Don't you worry about that.
Yay! Once again, where can people find you on the internets?
Listen. We talked about this so much, and that is the only thing I'm going to plug. Twitch.tv/WDWRM. It's Woodworm without the vowels. Because God knows I hate the vowels.
But if you want to spam his street photography with likes in order for him to start doing it again at some point, it's Instagram.com/HCXCY, right?
Yeah.
I always struggle with that. Okay, Vlad, thank you once again. And dear viewers, you can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts if you would like to listen to it. And you can also visit virtualbeerpodcast.com to listen to older episodes, a.k.a. to the season number 1. In the meantime, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video if you liked it. If not, the other button also works, I guess.
But don't. Why would you? Why would you do that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to tell them
You're
what
a
to
bad
do.
human being. Do you hate people?